The HRMIS, as he calls it, is simply a digital record of employee information intended to create a more transparent and equitable system for promotions for women. Muralidharan notes how mentorship and networking opportunities elude women and disadvantaged groups due to their inability to participate in social spaces outside of the office. His proposal hopes to build a diverse pipeline of leaders across India within public systems, providing a level playing field where social networks are largely made redundant. The key question is, how do we provide women a level playing field? Our experience with the district judiciary is unique and resonates with similar objectives and network agnostic mechanisms. Our district judiciary is recruited through a 3-step examination process which resembles the format for entry into the civil service. We have seen an increasing intake of women civil judges through these exams in recent years. 58% of the total candidates in Rajasthan in 2023, 66% of the appointments in Delhi in 2023, 54% of the appointments in Uttar Pradesh in 2022, and 72% of the total number of judicial officers appointed in Kerala are women. What this tells us is that once you liberate women from the network of patriarchal social attitudes and provide to them a level playing field on the basis of equality of opportunity, they not only compete shoulder to shoulder with other segments of society, but are far ahead of the curve. But unfortunately, even a measurable show of skill does not guard against the erasure of women's achievements in areas beyond this normative framework. In 2013, Andy Murray, the British tennis player, was congratulated for ending the 77-year-long wait to clinch a Wimbledon title. Well, Virginia Wade, a female British player, had won Wimbledon as far back as in 1977, but nobody thought of her. He was simply congratulated for being the first to win 2 Olympic tennis gold medals. What they lost in the bargain was that both Venus and Serena Williams had won 4 Olympic gold medals each. This is what Carolyn Perez terms as a male default, a phenomenon which treats the public domain as a male preservation and disparages, discards, and erases women's experiences to the contrary. The male default underlines gender data gaps in government planning, which in turn results in normative, male-centric policies which would harm women. Perez argues that the exclusion of women is justified by glorifying simplicity, from architecture to policy to medical research. The idea that simpler policies are better policies per se, Perez claims, is distortive. They make sense only if women are seen as an added extra and not essential. The book suggests involving women in the decision-making process to close the representation gap. In 1969, a distinguished philosopher, Isaiah Berlin, defined 2 forms of liberty, a positive form of liberty and a negative form of liberty. Negative liberty entails an absence of limitations, barriers, and constraints. Positive liberty envisages positive control over one's life and an ability to realize one fundamental aspiration. In the 19th century, a set of debates hope to settle questions about citizenship, property, access to the public sphere, and political virtue as far as these questions related to women. These debates collectively came to be known as the woman question, though not controlling or connoting a particular set of questions. The discourse gave rise to narratives and counter-narratives about women in society. These debates have formed the basis of socio-political rights such as suffrage and rights in public and private realms. But let's not make 2 bones about it. Our Constitution was far ahead of its time in recognizing rights for women, which countries across the world were still coming to grapple with. It was a visionary document which was crafted by the founding framers. Every institution must put itself to test against some of these questions. In making seemingly neutral policy choices, are we privileging male default? Are we accounting for diversity in the C-suite beyond tokenism? Are we making accommodations for women's health, well-being, and professional growth? Are we viewing women as professionals in their own right? Are we doing enough to preserve both negative and positive aspects of liberty? The preamble to our Constitution envisages social justice and equality of status and opportunity, an aspirational document scripting the future of the country. The Constitution prescribes in concrete terms discrimination on grounds of sex, while preserving the state's power to make special provisions for women and children. Non-discrimination on the basis of sex, equality before the law, and equality in matters of public employment broadly form the foundational principles of the guarantee of equality of opportunity and status. There is no dearth of substantive and procedural legal provisions targeted towards protecting the interests of women in public and private situations. But good laws alone, including stringent laws, do not make for a just society. Above all, we need to change our mindsets. Law can carry the journey towards women equality to a certain extent, but not beyond. The mindsets must move from making concessions for women to recognizing their entitlement to lead lives based on freedom and equality. As women have been clamoring in the recent past, we do not want a concession in terms of our security at our workplace. We just want equality of opportunity, which recognizes that, like every other element of the workforce, we are entitled to safe and secure conditions of work. We must zealously guard against apparently protective laws infringing women's liberties and choices. For instance, laws which prohibit women's employment in establishments where liquor is served. In Anuj Garg versus Association of Hotels, the Supreme Court struck down such a law as it gave expression to oppressive cultural norms which were contrary to the autonomy of women. We must foster institutional and individual ability to look beyond the male default. Women are still having to justify choices in ways their male counterparts are not required to justify. Their access to resources, basic resources such as education, employment, and advanced resources such as mentorship and social capital are checkered. While legal goalposts do afford substance to the constitutional guarantees, they do not exonerate our institutions. Martha Nussbaum, in her book Sex and Social Justice, argued that all human beings, regardless of gender, have a dignity that deserves respect from laws and social institutions. Injustice persists despite and beyond laws. Laws themselves are not empowering. They are a step in the direction of social change. The change lies in a more deliberate, long-drawn, and persistent process led by the people who constitute these institutions. As Dakshayani Veludhan presciently remarked, the working of the Constitution will depend upon how the people will conduct themselves in the future, rather than the law alone. For those of you who don't know about her, Dakshayani Veludhan was one of the 11 founding mothers who signed the final draft of our Constitution. All of 31 years of age, Veludhan was also the only Dalit woman in the Constituent Assembly. Standing at the intersection of caste and gender, Veludhan was a force to beckon with and held her own views independent of, sometimes even contrary to those of her more senior counterparts. Therefore, in conclusion, the foremost inquiry a just institution should make is this: are our systems and structures conducive to inclusivity, and are women supported in making unconventional choices that may not be socially sanctioned today? The Constitution guarantees the choice to opt for the conventional and the unconventional alike. Remember, in the 1960s, for a woman to become a fighter pilot on an Indian Air Force Supersonic aircraft was an unconventional choice. It's conventional today. And that's what's changing our society for the better. The Constitution therefore guarantees the choice to opt for the conventional as well as the unconventional. Before we regard any choice as unconventional, wait for the moment to pass. Tomorrow, a new future unfolds in reimagining what it is to be a woman. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Chandrachud, for your words. They inspire and resonate with a lot of us. I found myself nodding and a lot of others as you spoke, and that's why we have a man to deliver the keynote address, because we seek alliance with men who promote women's empowerment. Thank you very much for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you, Honorable CJ and Palki. Thank you, Dr. Chandrachud, for those very inspiring words. Now, for our next panel, we are thrilled to introduce two remarkable guests whose journey bridges cultures and disciplines. Padma Shri Nof Marwai, President of Saudi Yoga Committee and the first certified yoga teacher in Saudi Arabia, has elevated yoga in the Middle East. Joining her is Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati, a renowned spiritual leader, motivational speaker and author based in Rishikesh. She has authored the best-selling memoir, Hollywood to the Himalayas. Sadhvi ji blends ancient wisdom with modern insights. She also serves as Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and is a co-president of Religions for Peace. Ladies, please welcome Padma Shri Nof Marwai and Sadhvi Bhagwati Saraswati for an inspiring conversation with my colleague Toya Singh from CNN News 18.
Good evening. We are going to change pace slightly and maybe touch on a topic that we all feel all around us at every single moment. Let's just go to you first. And I'm going to come over to both of you. I just want to tell our audiences a little bit about your journeys in the question that I ask you. So Sadhvi ji, who's sitting on my left, is someone who was studying as a Stanford researcher and at the age of 25 decided on her trip to India, and I'm not going to tell our audiences yet why you decided, why you agreed to come to India in the first place. But you came here, and when you came here, there was something that you felt that made you go, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Can you just share what that feeling was with our audiences first?
Beautiful, and it's such a joy and such an honor to be here. Most of us grow up, and I certainly did, with the belief that who we are is our bodies. The size, the shape, the color, the history, the experience, our roles, our relationships, our bank accounts, our personalities, that's who we are. And so we suffer. This is what I've come to call the Hollywood mindset. And I come literally from Hollywood, hence the name. But the Hollywood mindset is something in which we are told, you are your body. You are your success. You are your bank account. You are what you look like. And we suffer. We suffer because we feel not enough. I certainly suffered. Even as an adolescent, even in my 20s, even as successful from the outside as it looked, matlab you would have looked at me and said, ki uske paas sab kuch hai. Came from a very good family, had everything on the outside. And yet, in addition to personal challenges that I had been through, there's just a pervasive sense of I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not popular enough. I'm not successful enough. I'm not good enough. And when I came to India, the story is too long to go into here, but yes, I came with a backpack at 25 in the midst of an adventure, in the midst of my PhD program in pediatric neuropsychology. And when I got to the banks of Ganga in Rishikesh, I had an experience that shifted me from a Hollywood mindset to a Himalayan mindset. And the Himalayan mindset tells us, you have a body, but you're not the body. You are soul, you are spirit, you are consciousness, you are full, you are whole, you are complete. There's nothing you're lacking. You are not those roles or relationships. You're not any of that. You are whole, you are full, you are one with the divine. So that experience that I had, and by the way, my personal Jivan Yatra was from Hollywood to the Himalayas. It's been now 28 years. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter कि आपका जीवन यात्रा कहाँ से कहाँ है, physically. What matters is that mindset in which we realize and recognize, and this is for me what happened on the banks of Ganga, was suddenly I realized, oh my God, there's nothing lacking in me. I've been created by a perfect creator, which means by default, I am perfect. Not when I lose the weight I want to lose, not when I look the way I want to look, not when I get an A on the exam I want to get an A on, not when this happens or that happens, not when I finally become the perfect daughter or wife or mother, but because I have been created, not only by, but of a perfect creator. Who we are is full and whole. And that shifted me from a focus of what's on my shelf in terms of possessions and titles and degrees and whatnot, to an experience of the fullness of myself. And I want to just say about this, I think obviously all of us fall into that illusion of we are our bodies and our careers and our bank accounts and whatnot. But women particularly, there is an emphasis upon women to be that perfect physical body, to play that perfect role, and whether it's what we